I always think that's
Get this meeting started. All right, thanks everybody. Look what a great big group we've got tonight. It was awesome. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order at 7:03. And can we get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
And a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion or changes? All in favor? Aye. Okay. And then. Same thing on the October minutes. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes? Okay, to accept the minutes. All right, second. Scott, all right, any discussion, corrections, changes? Compliments last time you were here for compliments, Scott, but
They were,
can't be every.
they were even better than last.
All right, so no corrections, so all in favor? Okay, great. Right. We always do good at the beginning of the meeting, all right, it's the later on that we run into time trouble.
Well, that's good. We'll save up our minutes.
We're banking those minutes now.
All right, so planning calendar, a couple things to go over. Okay. Coming up, we have the holiday market coming up on the 24th, Friday after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. So right now, I have on my list of volunteers Patty and Susie. She's going to volunteer to help set up.
Oh, to set up.
Yeah. So she's going to. She needs a very tiny room, so I think it's bigger. So she's going to help.
Right.
I know Scott will be here, I will be here, in a sales role. Do you know anybody else attending?
I will be working that day, so I know I won't be.
I will also be
Okay.
I'll be here.
Okay.
What time do I need to be here? Like
8:30, we're doing setup.
8:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
interesting.
what's this for?
It's the holiday market.
Holiday
I
market,
will be.
you'll be here. Okay.
Are we doing
Friday-
like
Friday after
decoration
it's
swap or is that
That's December.
that's on the
That's
8th?
December 9th.
That's gotten moved to the 9th, yeah. So we're gonna cover that one next.
Okay.
So holiday market, so Kim, we'll just need you to, we will have some library items for sale.
Okay.
So we'll just need to do a cash box and make sure that we know how to run the iPad for.
Can you send me a list of what we're gonna have for sale? That way I can put them into the square.
Okay, sure.
So the sale starts at 10 and we need help at 8:30.
Yes.
This is the Friday after Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm working at Jimmy at 10, so I could come at 8:30, 9:30.
Okay, I mean, we might have enough at this point, because most
Let
of
me
the
know,
vendors
okay.
coming in at this point, so.
Alright, let me know, because I
um,
think actually.
Who's coming this year?
The vendors? The usual suspects, plus we have, hold on a second.
Have the flyer, blacksmith's wife, Stonebridge Pond Crafts, Third Stage Bags. Garden Potter, Pipe and Craft, Roaring Brook Studio, Wandering Woods Candles, Will's Whimsies, and more.
Two kids, so one of them is selling crafts and baked goods, and the other one is selling allergy friendly, baked goods and hot cocoa bombs. Yeah, they're very good.
Very good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
This is the girl who wants to have her own, she's gonna eventually start up her own food truck with baked goods that are allergy, vegan, allergy free, all that stuff, but she's really got her something going there.
And Kim, you are not gonna be there.
The original plan was that we will not be here because we're supposed to go to Ohio, but Logan just got finished meeting with his editors, so there's a chance we might stay home so that he can work on the book, so it's up in the air right now.
Okay, I'll leave you off for now.
Yeah, leave me home for now.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks everybody. And then the following day, we have the holiday parade and tree lighting, so Vicky and Elaine have been working, sorry,
Yeah.
they've been working hard on that, and then I know they're welcoming any, oh my god.
The last time I saw it.
And they light up, I believe.
They do.
Yeah.
There. So, yeah, they worked pretty hard on it, so it was kind of nice. And then we have a Christmas tree in the closet with the Grinch on it, so it looks like the Grinch is supposed to be part of the Christmas tree. I'm not gonna pick it. So, yeah, there you go.
So the plan, I think, is to finish setting up the float at 2 o'clock on Saturday. The parade starts, the lineup starts like 5:30. So I think people are welcome to join along to help with the float. We also recruited a new young 14-year-old volunteer tonight, food pantry.
Great.
So who might want to volunteer at the library, and Vicky was very smart to say, hey, we have a really fun thing for you to start with. Come do this. So him and mom were very excited. And if there's no walking in the parade, so everybody's gonna, if you want to be on the float, you gotta actually be on the float or in the truck, so. There is some limits to how many people. I believe I forwarded this, but just to reiterate, so Grafton is hosting a UHLS preparing for a challenge, which some people attended, some was oriented to. So if you want to, that's happening on 27th. And then, so the decor spots has moved to the 9th. So we can look who's gonna be attending and helping on that as well.
So just so you know, I'm having surgery on the 6th. I should be fine by the 9th. But in case I'm not, we might want to have some backup in case.
I'll
So,
be here.
okay, awesome.
I'm giving, whatever you need to give me to do, I can do.
Okay, like I said, I should be okay, but who knows? Fingers crossed, not going.
I'll be here that day too. Amazing, Saturday, but I can be here.
I'll try to do that. Make sure I have that ready to go.
And then we have the blood drive on the 21st, and I actually forget if I've already asked for volunteers for that.
I volunteered, I don't think you did.
Okay. And
On the 21st of December?
yes. Sometimes Elaine and her daughter like to do it, so I will check in with them, and Vicky sometimes does it at the day she. So,
Maybe is working that day.
okay, I'll check in with Elaine unless anybody else here wants to jump in for that.
What time is it?
1 to 6.
You need it out that too. I'm gonna be.
We usually, yeah, as long as we have one. One person for 3 hour, 2 hour shift, whatever it is, it's really plenty. Although I go to them now and other places and there's no volunteers, and it really is not very nice. So I think it's nice that we're able to have volunteers and. It's kind of went to the one we loved it last weekend, and it's just sort of. Snacks from the box and reaching.
I might be able to help, I just don't know my plans yet and where I'm gonna
Okay.
be, it's better if I'm here and not.
Okay, cool. All right, so next month, we're gonna be talking about budget this month, but next month is when we have to approve it. And the other thing that's happening in December is annual appeals going out, talk more about that later, so big month, big couple months. Anything else that needs to be on the calendar? All right, let's move on to Kim's report.
So talking about calendar, it's gonna be busy December, usually is a busy December, but got my report. Our programs have been doing pretty good. We had actually 112 people at the Halloween party this year. 17 teens, 112. Yes, 112 adults, 90 kids, 17 teenagers, and then there had to be at least 50 more people that never came and registered with me, so we had a huge number for the Halloween party, which was great. And for the jack-o'-lantern display, we picked 50 pumpkins, somewhere around 50. Those were gone in a day. Larry generously came back and gave us more and actually delivered them to us this year, so we didn't have to pick them. He must have given us another 25 or 30, but we did get 50 pumpkins back for the display, which was much better than we did last year, so it was really, and I thought it came out nice.
It looked
It
really good,
beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you, well, that's gonna be where it'll be now from.
Yes,
from now. Yeah. It caught my eye too. It was like, I was driving back, she's like, oh, wow, that does look kind of nice. The. Well, can you tell everybody what happened with the Veterans Annual Meeting? It was a bit of a hectic and hair pulling experience.
Pop-up meeting.
It was absolutely a pop-up meeting, so 15 minutes before their meeting was supposed to start, someone came in and said, oh, there's a veteran here for the meeting. I'm like, excuse me, what do you mean there's a veteran here? That's not supposed to be, I was gonna call them tomorrow to find out what time we should be ready.
Well, good, you saved a call.
I did. So we were able to, they all showed up and were like, oh yeah, didn't someone call you? Yeah. But Jen came to the rescue with pizza and soda and creamer for the coffee. I was able to make coffee. Richard, thank goodness, had cookies in the refrigerator because I forgot to bring them to the Halloween party. So I had cookies. I had leftover snacks from teen night. And so we were able to feed them and they were very gracious and very happy with the efforts that we made. So it all worked out at the end.
It's meant to be, actually. There you go.
I was like,
Okay.
I was like, I can't do this again. So, but it worked out fine. So it was a definite like all hands on deck. And luckily I was here when that happened. I was supposed to have gone up and picked my kids up from school that night. In which case Cheryl would have been here by herself trying to figure all that out. So I'm glad I was here to be able to deal with it instead of going on the phone.
I think we should maybe try to up our game, I mean, beyond up our game, you know what's happening, but I mean, also maybe see if we can get something a little bit nicer for food, because I know they're always like, whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean.
Well, if they give us maybe 15 minutes more.
Right.
Well, I used to go and get the cider donuts from the place over in near Pittsfield, I'm not sure where. But obviously I didn't have time to do that today. So that's
Maybe they were chocolate bombs.
chocolate bombs. That made up.
Yeah,
like,
might be trying.
Or again.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we used for pizza and we could do better than that, so
Yeah.
I think.
And how often does it happen?
Once a year.
Oh, once a year.
Yeah, once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe next year we can do something. Well, if they give us the right date.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, like, they'll bring a crock pot.
I already
Yeah.
know, it's the first Wednesday of every month. So we can already put it on the calendar for next year. Because whatever the date will be for the first Wednesday of November.
Okay.
So.
I'll cook something.
So let's see. Our story time is still huge and going really well. We had 16 kids, 12 kids, 16, 13. Yesterday we had 11. And what's interesting is that it's like you have our regulars. And then you have the people we've never seen before. The regulars come on Wednesday, and then the people we've never seen before come on another Wednesday. So if we were to put them all together, we'd have at least 25 kids here.
Wow.
So it's popular and it's doing really well. And Rebecca has added to it tremendously and being able to put the preschoolers and the toddlers and do the different activities has just worked out really well. So very, very happy with the way story time is going. You can see my calendar. We have a big couple of things happening in December. We're gonna do visits and pictures with Santa again this year, like we did last year. Santa has already agreed to be here with us, and the photographer's already agreed to be here with us, so we're all set with that.
Who's the Santa?
Jared Brazy. He is, he loves it, and he
Yeah.
does it every year, so I'm very happy to come and help us with it. So let's see, then I'm doing like the usual things that I've done every year where I'm gonna do different ones, but we're gonna do ornament making and the gingerbread house making, Rebecca and I will do again. We're gonna do a holiday team night and that will be gingerbread making as well. We are doing our book group, the blood drive, the PJ story time. I think in December, I'm going to do a special Lego party, because I have a bunch of supplies to make the Lego party, so we might do something like that. Another big thing that's happening is we're having Celtic holiday music with Jeff Snow on December 8th. And
He's done this before, hasn't he?
he hasn't done the holidays part yet, but he does the Celtic music. Yeah, he's great. We're still doing the breastfeeding support groups. We've only had a few parents come to that, but we're hoping that if we just keep going, it'll keep, they'll start to gain more attraction, so. Oh, and then on tomorrow night, we're having another team night. And this time we are making it so that the kids we're gonna do some community service. We're gonna make hot chocolate snowman soup packets that we will then give to the food pantry. And they can then give them out not this one, but the Christmas baskets. So it's really just hot chocolate with marshmallows and M&Ms and mint stirring stick. So I have gloves. I'll make sure everyone's nice and sanitary about it. But we'll make up those, and we figured it was like a Thanksgiving thing. Let's give and let's help the kids see some new things. There are new ways of being in the community. So we'll see how that goes. So hopefully that'll go well. Okay. You can see all of my circulation numbers. They're all about everything's pretty static. Not a whole lot. We have had more people who have been registered as patrons. I don't know the exact number, but I know I've registered quite a few people myself, so we've had some new people in town, which is lovely. Okay, pumpkin picking, I went over that. Did the branded marketing committee meeting. I did have a staff meeting. We are now trying to get back on track with our staff meetings. I was supposed to have a training on Monday, but Cheryl was sick. Jody was not available everyone at the last minute. So we will be rescheduling that. So unfortunately we'll have to do that. The website's been updated. I still have some more things to put on in terms of the donation pages and things like that, but we've got, it now at least has everybody's picture up. Oh, wait, no. Get you at some point. No. So I do just a little profile of everybody.
Okay.
So we can talk later. Yes, here. No, you're still coming soon. Why did you speak up? Right now, just thinking.
Well, I thought something was wrong with my memory.
No, I'm probably.
Well, it's good to keep the teeth simple.
Exactly, there you go.
So, one thing to know that I did put on here is that, your still is coming soon. Shoot. Oh my gosh, you want to do anyway. I did update a bunch of our, policies from I reformatted them so that they're all the same now, but I put on the website the policies that are technically active that we already had, like that have been voted on within the past 5 or so years. So we now have like records retention, tobacco free, patron code of conduct, community use, room use, laptop loan, and fine free library policy. So I'm working on others, and we've got a lot of other work to do for that stuff too. So I'll just keep pushing them through, and we can keep working on those.
Can I ask the question? Because I keep encountering this.
Yeah.
Did you check out about, using the www?
I haven't did that yet.
Because, yeah.
What is this?
So on certain
Right.
platforms,
Yeah.
Oh, are we unsafe?
no, we're not unsafe. It's just that you can't, if you don't put the www in, it won't go through.
Oh, I have seen that sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll have to check in with Noe and see if he can tell me how to fix that.
It should be an easy fix. It's easy for me to say. but-
Lead with that. No way. It should be an easy fix.
See how that works out.
Let's see, we didn't have a DA meeting this month, because Nyla, one of these years I will get to that, it's not happening this year. Let's see, existing policies. I did speak to Kirk Mitchell about the community room door. He did find a door that was first $800, and now we found one that's $587. I asked him to show me, like, send me some pictures or specs or whatever, so they could give it to you guys. I have not yet gotten that. But we definitely need to replace the door, so I'm not sure if we want to just say, go ahead and do it, or if you want me to, send it.
500 and what?
The door itself is $587.
52.
So it'll probably be somewhere around $800 altogether to do the work.
Yeah.
I think we don't need to replace the frame, he said. He thinks you can get away with just doing the door. So hopefully it won't be that much. So I don't know what you guys are gonna do. If it's, you know, want me to just say go ahead, or you want me to send the pictures around of the pieces of art. I think you should just go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're fine with you looking at it, approving it. Okay, making a decision.
I mean, outdoor doors run at a minimum 300 and then they go up.
Yeah.
The install is always fun.
And yeah, the doors are fussy. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and it's.
you never know.
There's a hole that's going straight through the door all the way out to the outside, so it's definitely. Time for it.
Yeah, and. We have invested a lot in our road control.
Yeah, right.
All the doors. You know, there's some things. We should.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
I probably will have to call the locksmith to replace, or at least to install the locks correctly. So I'll have to find out about that, but that's not usually, they're not usually too expensive, so it shouldn't be that bad.
And I'm sorry, because I think you've said this before, and I just don't remember. How come now we can't put the thing so the store opens?
We have to use, you have to do the push the bar in and then
Yeah.
use the Allen key
Yeah.
to do it, and I, for some reason, just haven't been able to get it to work
Okay,
properly.
okay.
When during the pandemic, when that door broke and they came in and fixed it, I thought they were fixing it with the same lock we normally have, and it was the kind where you can't keep it open unless you have pushed the bar onto the Allen key, so it can only be done that way.
Once you do it, you can leave it unlocked.
It would just end up being unlocked that way, wouldn't it? Yeah. So it doesn't latch either, though. That's how it stays open, is the latch disengages. So maybe if they're down here for that, I can ask them to look at that and see if there's a better way to do that, so. Budget, we'll go over story time. Just putting it out there, and I'm not sure if you sent around the notes from Noe, do you want to go through that later?
Yeah, let's do that as part of the budget discussion.
Okay, sounds good. Little library up and running, thank Mike. I know, thank you.
Mike.
Gonna be doing as many changes as I can during these next few weeks for the website that we were talking about during the branded marketing committee meeting. I did receive the bags for the Clink fundraiser. I'm looking into figuring out where the best place to collect bottles is. You know, at first I was gonna do it right here, but then Jody and Vicky had reminded me that they've done those in the past and that no one ever cleans out their bottles, and then you end up with nasty, gross.
Yeah.
So attracting vermin yet again.
Exactly. So we do have the garbage can over here, and I don't know if it can be moved or not, but if we can move it over to this side, maybe we can make that like a Clink, you know, area, so.
But do we have to collect them here? Or can we
Yeah,
just
yeah,
give
Yeah,
them
I
back?
think give it in bags to people too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I thought that's what
That
it was
seems
like,
we
have
should
a
do.
basket out. People take, we put the tag on, and my mom does it for Capital Roots, and I'm like, so you just take a bag home, you fill it, and then you scan it to place, and then that money goes to us.
Even better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we just have like a, just
All right.
lay out of that.
Perfect, well, we can then start, I have bags, so we can
Yeah,
start.
so
getting
once I have all the
pictures
details, I'll
about
put a
it.
flyer together to let people know that the bags are available, someone here's what.
Yeah.
And then where can we bring them back?
Hamden.
Okay.
The one in West Van Lake has like a thing, it's outside, you
Yep.
just like scan it,
They're separate.
but we just need to make sure we put our stickers on all of them, so that
Okay,
before they take. Cause the
Right.
bags come without any
Uh-huh.
barcode.
okay, that's even better.
I mean, we could also have one here. But I don't,
I
I
think we
think
did
it
it
wouldn't
for
be worth
staff.
it. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth it.
Let's see, and the only other thing is that, the fire department used our, our staircase to, I don't even know what the name of the, it's like just a stair chair.
A stair chair, to train on the stair chair, so we were able to provide them with some nice
Oh,
safe
cool.
stairs to use. Yeah, we thank you for that. So I know Logan said we should just go in there and do it, it would be like real life. but-
It wouldn't real life, like, too, because it's like a hoarder situation.
Well, right now you can't even get to the stairs, there's a Christmas tree.
It's probably advanced training. and everything.
Right, exactly.
It's like, you did the entrance, now here's the test.
Just so you're aware, the little pumpkin guy on the thing here, our preschoolers made a scarecrow at their, not this
Oh,
past,
cool.
so that was their project, was to make a scarecrow for, the holiday, or actually, I think it was just because they thought it was fun. So, that's why and then the kids next to it, they're the ones making the scarecrow. Yeah, and we have some pictures of teen night, which again, we had 25 kids at teen night last time.
That's really great. That's like a nice change.
It is, it's an exhausting 2 hours, but it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big.
The kids, we have to have we're gonna have, like, we have to, usually, if I have an hour worth of like an activity. And then let them have an hour of just, hangout time, it's not bad. But now they've taken to like wanting to run around the library because they can't go outside, so like they wanted to turn all the lights off and play this hide and seek game, and it was just kind of a little nuts. So this month, we're gonna have stations that I'm gonna teach, I have card games, we have, we'll do the big project together. We have some other games to play, we have bead making to do, so we're gonna keep them a little more occupied, and hopefully it'll make
Structure.
a little
Provide
stress.
structure.
Hopefully it'll make it so that our stress level goes down. So, we'll see.
You mentioned that the teens are sometimes looking for like some conversation, something a little more toothy for them.
Maybe, I know we talked about it,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily know that. Just seeing how they are here, they were having so much fun, like, doing, those little fortune tellers and just.
Mhm.
We're gonna put Legos out because we know that they like to do things that are silly and young for them, so.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know, I
Mhm.
think we'd have to talk about it in some groups to
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. So that's been the month in a nutshell. I'm sure there's more that I'll remember to tell you all
Richard, do you want to give a treasurer's report?
Sure, we have two pieces of paper, there's one that's the budget versus actual through November. We are running pretty well, we've spent $104,000 and we have 127 in the budget now. Some things
A lot
that
to smell, spend by urine.
unfortunately, that will not be the case. I would love it if it was, but we have payroll will catch up to what it's budgeted. We also have the repairs to the doors that'll come out of the repair and maintenance, which is at the bottom of page 1. Other than that, the other thing, I'm trying to figure for fuel oil that we buy or not. We've already bought it, or
And we just started buying.
we just started buying it, so that your utilities, so here, 5,300, it's 35, so that'll probably catch up to that 5,300 figure. So.
We just paid for our first, it was like 781.
781, yeah, makes a lot of sense, yeah. Yeah, so basically, we're pretty much running on track. Probably gonna come in pretty close to what the expenses are estimated at. As far as our bank accounts, we're in good shape, we got 150,000 in the bank. That's about the repairs on my house, so. I see we have check writing authority, so this is a lot of fun. Hasta la vista, baby. Anyway, so no, I mean, we're in good shape. The special project savings accounts we have not touched. We just did write a check from them, or from the business checking back into our account, because we couldn't quite figure out how to document the transfer. QuickBooks would just not let us transfer it. So we just basically wrote a check and deposited it.
It's not letting us show it as an expense when we put the money from our checking account into the savings. So it was just easier to say, let's just write a check to ourselves and then it shows up as an
Yeah.
expense.
Mhm.
I
Yes,
hadn't
right.
yet cashed that check. I'm hoping to do it tomorrow. So.
Well, I guess we'll see you next year too. But no, we're in pretty good shape on that. We did work very hard on the budget, so I'd like to save time for more on that, because there is quite a bit that we need to talk about, so I'd like to, if you have any questions on the existing, that would be great for right now, but I'd like to save more time for the budget discussion, which is coming up further down the agenda.
Any questions? Folks? So in that case, we're going to go into executive session and talk about the director review. So we'll send Kim out for. Okay, so we're out of executive session. Back
Yes.
recording? Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So now 2024 budget discussion. Before we get into the details, just a recap from last month to say that as we're looking forward for this year, what we are thinking is for 2025 is when we're going to be planning for new 414 vote. So proposing, the taxpayer support increase. So we'll just to keep that in mind, and there was an excellent presentation about funding sources and more about the and stuff. So definitely made us hopeful that that will not be an issue to go forward with that. But obviously we need to do a lot of planning around that and get our
So I typically get a 90% plus approval rating.
I wouldn't want to lie. Serious, I think.
Yeah.
We're gonna have real problems.
Mhm.
It was like very, very.
It was tough last time, yeah.
Unlike like East Nassau, they had like 67% approval of a 40% increase. You're not gonna see that,
Yeah,
or at least it's my belief that we're not gonna see that.
they did say that they would come and sit with us and kind of work through what our particular issues might be, so I think we should definitely do that.
definitely.
Yeah,
Especially
any point
if-
of the storm.
Yeah.
And I think we should start early, like next, in the new year, to, even though we have a little more time than that, but just so we can really be planning to get ourselves in a good position.
It's really identifying who your supporters are, and getting, it's really.
And I feel like if we're actively gathering data the first few months of the year for the strategic plan, that can be done in a way that is finding out who our supporters are and also trying to understand what could make people support us.
Right.
So I feel like
Right, yeah.
it kind of dovetails, and we just gotta be really intentional about that stuff, and then it can be really doubly useful.
Makes sense. That makes sense. I think we've done a couple of things in our favor that way. We're gonna have that, we're gonna have a different audience, we're sending the annual appeal to, so we're gonna see what that does. We'll have at least, we've done the work to get the database, so we can reach out to people, we can make those, we will happen to have that to be able to, if we decide to, so I think we'll just be in a better position to plan.
But
all
I
this.
still think it is going, go out.
Yeah.
I think it's good. My concern is that if they see us do the project in the kids' room and then we go and ask for more money from the town, for working, how that's gonna.
But I think that actually can be in our favor, because we did everything we could to do that without taxpayer money. We're getting grants, we have a big donation, we're gonna try to get a matching donation, and that's gonna be a huge thing for the community.
And we have improved the community
Right.
without.
And part of what we're asking to increase for is to be able to put that to use, like we have said, this many more kids coming in, we need this many more programs, all of that, so I think we can definitely.
It's all a great answer for the people who actually listen for the answer.
Right, sure, exactly, right.
But I think you've got a point as far as people just see, well, anyway, look what they're doing, they're like, oh, I don't know.
Probably the easiest sell is that we replaced the heating plant. which needed to be.
Yeah.
Needed to be done. That's an easier sell than library improvement, if you ask me, because everyone understands.
Yeah.
If you're done with your useful life with the heating plant, you
Yeah.
need to get a new one. But anyway, we'll
Yeah.
cross that bridge.
Anyway, now into the nitty gritty. You wanna start, Richard?
Yeah, I'll make sure everybody has one of these three column ones.
Do you have an extra one?
I have an extra one, yes, ma'am. I did one for my own. I had sent one of these out, but it wasn't a 3 column one, it was just a 2 column.
No, it was
What
on
did you have? Somehow,
I don't know, I think maybe you were getting the maps.
Do you have an extra one?
Uh,
Oh, here, you know what, here, you can take that. That is it.
Oh, wait, yeah.
it's a 3 column one.
Yeah,
This one. Yeah.
This one, exactly.
Okay, got it.
I don't think so. I don't think pages twice.
So the good- So the good news in the current year, our total income is doing very close to what we projected. We projected 128,000. First column on the second page. You see the total income, 128,8. We've taken in 128,021.
However.
Okay,
Minus 7,000 from that, because that number includes the money that we've taken in from.
from this,
From
the
town,
the town, yeah, I was always wondering why I got added. Okay,
so
so
that is added into there.
we got 121 then ballpark number. So. But we do have,
Yeah, we haven't closed out this year.
we haven't closed out this year
And
yet.
so, yeah, okay.
So we're doing okay on that. As you continue. Our current expenses. Go to page number 6. We budgeted 127,9, we're at 106,798. As we discussed, there will be some repairs and some fuel oil charges. So we are, I don't know if we're, and plus we have more payroll to catch up. So we're probably gonna get right to that 127 figure. So, you know, so I guess the good news is we actually knew what we were doing when we did the budget. Congratulations. Now the fun. Okay, so we went ahead and tried to be as draconian as we could with some expenses. But at the end of the day, between inflation and everything else, we came up with a proposed budget of 139,478. That includes increases to the payroll for the staff. That also includes, what else did we bump up? Some of our fees have tripled. Page 6.
But that doesn't include the raise that we did.
No, it doesn't include the raise we just did, but you know, that's. Basically, some things really increased, kind of surprised us, some of the fees and whatnot, were a lot higher than we thought they would be. Also, you had to build in some inflation for fuel oil and that kind of stuff, but. Really, a budget increase of, you know, right about $12,000 from one year to the next, it's about. Looked out to be about 8%, that's not too bad. Now, the figure to the right there, 142,802. There's another figure even further to the right, which didn't get paid. 143,582. So if you want to write that down. 582. That is new improved budgeting for the program director. Now, we currently allocate about $4,000 for the program director's expenses, I guess you'd say.
We don't have a program director.
Yeah, but I mean, in the current budget, we showed $4,500. If you look at the page. For programs.
Not the program.
It's
For
if your net pay programming staff was budgeted at 4836 in the current year.
That's how much we paid in the current year.
No, that's how much we budgeted.
That's
Isn't that how much we paid on? That's right here. No, the actual is to the left. The actual is to the left. Actual is
4,800 is
1347.
Yeah, I don't think we ever budgeted in.
It was what we downloaded, it was in the budget.
But there's no, nothing.
I don't know where that magic 2,800 came from. I'm with you.
Which page are we on?
I'm sorry, we're
Three.
having a technical difficulty here.
Page 3?
Yeah, look at page 3, programming. Yeah, it's shown on the 2024, we put in 4836 there.
Right, that's what we're budgeting this year, but we never put in a budget for last year.
Right.
Thank you, that makes sense. So that would be one of the increases that you have at the end there.
So if you look on page 4. Excuse me, page 3. Page 3, under
Period.
payroll. And then where it says wages staff, it's 51,502. Underneath that, we have a net pay of programming staff. We've been paying Cheryl this year to do story time. That's all the staff we've been using for story time. So
So the 1347 is what we've been paying Cheryl.
is what we've paid
Okay,
Cheryl so
all right.
far.
All right.
She generally works an extra 2.5 to 3 hours a week.
Okay,
To
okay.
do that. And we
So
pay
that
her
explains that number, okay.
Right.
Because you'll see that there wasn't anything in the budget at all for program expenses. And then we figured on an annual basis, it would be 4836 if we continued to pay Cheryl. But then we also said, let's do a different plan. Which worked out. Program director would be 18 hours per month. The 8160 would be at 1550 per hour. Story time 1, 1550, story time 2, 1550. The total per month is 680. The annual is 8940. If we pay everybody $17.30 an hour, it's 8160 if we pay everybody $15.50 an hour. So basically what we're looking at is we would increase the budget for programming wages from currently basically 0 to $8,900 or $8,100.
And Kim, do you want to take a step back and explain, what this would look like, what they would be doing, what this would really do,
Trying to pull up my version of this budget because I didn't print both pages, it's not coming up. So what it is that I basically looked at how many hours a week am I spending on programming? And I'm definitely spending more than this, but I think we could get away with a programming person to come in and pay and work about 4 hours a week. Like that's just, a general 4 hours a week. If they want to do 5 hours one week and 3 hours the next week, then that would work too. But no more than 18 hours a month. They would, whoever this lucky person is, would run. They would run. Let's see, they would run at least one creative program. I say creative program, so it could be an art class, it could be how to do macrame, it could be any creative type of a program. That's just what I try to do every month. One creative program a month, that could be for children or adults or teens, and then one lecture type program a month. The creative program could also be bringing in a presenter, it could be bringing in music, it would be up to this person to figure out what's best, but it would definitely have, we want to make sure we have enough kids programs and adults programs. So plan and run one performance program at least every other month. They would help with summer reading program because that's huge in the summertime, and I feel like that's one thing that I have not been able to focus on with all the stuff that we have going on during the summer. I'd like to see a more robust summer reading program. So even if we were to have, during the months between January to May, they're not working 18 hours a month, but they're saving up those hours to work over the summer. As long as we're not going over budget, then I think that would be great. They would help with creating the flyers and the advertising for the programs. All I would have to do is just take whatever they have and put it into the website, and that would be lovely. So what I figured out or tried to figure out was what would this look like if we were to do it based on different hourly wages and, you know. I did not look to see what other people are making because I just don't afford what other people are gonna be making in terms of programming. So I did the highlighted sections. If are at 4 hours a week, if we were to stay at the 1550, which is what our staff make. And how much that would cost per year versus if they were to do 4 hours per week, no more than 18 hours, and then do it at a pay rate of $17.30 an hour. I was coming up with those numbers simply because it was helping to make round numbers, so we could say you're getting $3,600 a year to be the program director of the library. I did come up with other ones at $18 an hour and $20 an hour, which would probably be more on par with what would be expected of a program director. If not more, but that significantly raises the cost, and I don't know that we can really do that. So the thought was just, well, maybe we see what we can get, see how it goes. And see how it goes for a year, and then if we decide we need to make it more, or it doesn't work, or we can enable and adjust going forward. So that's kind of where things are with the budget, at least in terms of how much it would be. The other thing too is in order to keep, and what we need to keep in there is that we would still be doing story time and paying Cheryl and Rebecca. Because the numbers have gone so high, we definitely need to have 2 people for story time. And the one thing, I did speak to Rebecca about the possibility of her becoming a program director if she was interested in it. She is interested in it, and she would definitely do an amazing job. The only issue is that she'd have to work out things with her son, and can she do things on the weekends because she has to have childcare, all this other stuff. So we're still kind of talking, and she knows it's really dependent on what we can do, but we have to start paying her because she's been doing this for free. And I don't know, she's just done an incredible job with the amount of planning and everything that she's been doing for story time. Just yesterday, she went out and bought and came up with a creative project for the kids to make turkeys out of rice cakes, Nutella, peanut butter, apples, strawberries, bananas, she used a melon, but she won't give me the receipts for any of this stuff. So she's paying for this out of her own pocket. And she's spending 3 hours a week, if not more, planning all of these things. She needs to get paid. Like this is, we can't keep taking advantage of her like this. So, and a lot of the families have seen how what she's doing is really adding to our program. She and Cheryl split off and do the same thing together. They do stuff together, but then Rebecca takes the toddlers and Cheryl takes the preschoolers, and it works well. So in this budget, we would have a program director for 18 hours a month. Then we would have to have a story, and then the 2 story time people, which is approximately 13 hours a month.
So you combined the story time with the program. Could you have a program person and a story time? Like the program person does? Say
Rebecca does it,
right,
then yes.
Could she do both?
Yes.
Okay.
But we would have to add in probably maybe take some of those hours would end up, because right now she's doing 3 hours a week on story time.
No, I'm saying like keep the prices, like keep a dedicated story time, just add that salary to your program director's salary and have the program director.
She would get then like the 50, however.
Right.
So she would get both of those. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
We definitely could work that out. Yeah. Yeah.
that might be more.
The program
Appealing.
director would be 36 hours total.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 31 hours
Right.
per month.
Well, then you guys start getting care. Oh, a month. That's right.
Yeah.
And can she do that, or?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that
whether
seems
she can or not, but
complicated.
she definitely wants to stay with story time.
And there might be somebody else out there that.
Would be willing to come out and do that. Problem is, can we afford it? And right now. Go ahead.
So we have 2 things. So we have a letter to read in regards to Rebecca, which I'll read in a minute. But the larger question of hiring this program one thing I want us to consider is, as to tag on something Kim said, sort of, try this for a year, see how this is working out. I think the timing of doing that right now could be really beneficial, because Kim is going to get pulled into, if we move forward with this renovation project. Kim is gonna be so involved in that, and there's so much that has to be done with that, and. Who else is gonna do that? Nobody, that's Kim's gonna do that, so to have somebody else to be able to step in, particularly during this time with the programs. One thing I would like us to consider is if we say, okay, we wanna do this. We'll try this for a year during this time of renovations, and ahead of when we wanna make a proposal for additional funds, see, are we getting the benefit of having this program person? And we can consider paying for this, running, Richard could talk to us better about, running a deficit, and then if we have to pull funds from.
Yeah, we can pull funds from our money market, we've got 66,000 in there, I mean. The thing is, this is also, if we're gonna go back to the public in 2025. This would be an improvement in our programs, not that you're not doing a good job, don't get me wrong. But we could say, look, we've expanded our programs for you all, we're redoing the library, we're trying to make this a safer space, etc. This would be good from a PR standpoint as well. That the library is taking it upon themselves to dip into our endowment to provide a service to the community. I don't like dipping into endowments, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a trade-off that in the long term may provide a good benefit. It's just, because Kim's gonna be involved with having a hard hat on and involved with that. I agree totally that I don't want to be the first treasurer that says, okay, fine, we're gonna be running a deficit this year. I'm not a big fan of deficit spending. My father was a big fan of it. I learned that it's not a very good idea, so it's just that in order to do this program, we're gonna have to dip into some of our savings.
In terms of timing, the awards are funded in June, I think, of next year. We may be able to get almost 75%. I think they're down to 73%. And I think Upper Hudson said that some of the other library areas probably won't utilize all the construction funding. So they may be able to get a little bit longer. Putting that aside, I guess the real question is how much, in connection with this sort of analysis, which is I think an appropriate way to look at things, when does that really kick in? Because there may not, I don't know how much work Kim's going to get sucked into in connection with the renovation and when. And it may very well be later on, because I just can't imagine that come June, people are doing much anything. There's going to be, you get your plans and whatever, and I don't know when they start. I don't know.
We're gonna have to start trying to get all of you have to get 3 bids for each part of the work. We're gonna have to actually finalize the plans of what we're gonna do.
Yeah, no, there's work, but the question is what?
Right, but I think some of that's gonna start earlier than when we have because we wanna be ready to go, right? We don't wanna be in a position where we're.
I don't know. Well, I'm asking, I'm
Yeah.
not assuming anything.
Yeah.
Have we spoken to Paul about what's the cadence of the job? When does it start? What are they
According
doing?
to the way it was planned out, and to the timeline that we gave the state, timing would be that we would start in August, I think, is when we were looking at the initial start construction.
Well, if you're starting construction, then obviously you're bidding before then.
Right, we wouldn't be able to do anything until August anyway, because if we have summer camp here, there's no way we should have summer camp and a construction site.
Why?
We can put the kids to work.
I think there are laws. Here's your hard hat. Have a nice day.
We're all about.
This'll be fun. You like these power tools, kids?
Oh, they would love that. They would love that. Yeah, so April 1 to August 1, development of construction documents and bidding requirements, local approvals. August 1 to August 30, bidding. They put in here after the summer reading program is over, which makes sense, but we can work around some reading. If we're, like, if we have stuff and we're ready to go by August 1, we should just do it.
Yeah.
They say September 24, then would be when we'll award the bids and then not actually starting any demolition or anything until October. But like I said, I think if we can do it the sooner we can do it, the better.
And do we have a sense of how much work that's involved from our end? I mean, you've got
That I don't.
you've got professionals doing the design, so the question is, what decisions are we involved in? And how much time is that gonna take?
Right, yeah, that I'm not sure.
And I don't think you're gonna be doing a whole lot in connection with designing the heating plant, so it's really
I'm getting better.
awesome. Maybe you could take over some of the work of the engineers then.
It
But I mean,
is.
there are design decisions which need to be made, and they'll be coming back to you and saying, this is what it looks like, and ultimately, you're gonna run it through us. And
I think
I would underestimate.
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be.
my point is that we don't know what the amount
Right.
is. We need to find out about that in order to make this decision. I wouldn't assume anything. I just don't know.
I mean, we're not hiring a project manager. That's gonna be Ken.
Yeah.
Um,
And even if there wasn't this whole project thing, we need a program person.
Yeah, I mean, look at this page of all the stuff.
So I don't know that.
I'm not arguing
No,
against
no,
the
I'm-
program. All I'm saying is, what's the timing and what kind of time sink is it gonna be? And the assumption is that this is starting soon, and I'm just saying, I don't know what's involved. And I don't know what's starting, so if the assumption, I mean, I think the analysis is right. Obviously, it's going to impact your workload. But the question is when and how much.
definitely.
But even if we weren't doing this big master plan, you would still wanna move forward with something.
At some point, I think we should
Yeah.
look into having someone,
I
yeah,
didn't just like, I'm just trying to separate considerations,
two, gotcha.
that's all.
yeah, I mean. Programming is one of the things I love the most about, I love doing programming. But it takes up so much of my time that I'm constantly feeling like I'm just barely keeping up with everything else that needs to be done. So even if it's just someone to come in and help out with a couple of things a month, you know, that's would be huge. I mean, definitely can make it continue if we feel like we just can't make that happen. We don't want to run a deficit. I'm fine with that, but it has to be in our thoughts for the next few years. Like, when can we start doing that?
And we also have to think about it from the standpoint of, is this a job somebody would want? And if it's too bare bones, it probably wouldn't be a job that somebody would want.
Right, well, that's kind of why I put in there about the 4 hours a week, that
Yeah.
would be planning, that would be actually running a program. I mean, we already do, like, this Lego club is run on its own, book club Sarah you do, which is wonderful. Story time obviously is being run. If I had to do story time as well, oh my gosh, my head would explode at this point.
Well, the other thing about what you were saying is this person may work fewer hours in the early part of the year and then more hours later in the year. And that sort of is in keeping with what you're thinking about the other.
Yeah,
projects.
that's what I
You know,
was.
so they sort of, even though we do want to keep them separate, they sort of do mirror each other in how they might play out.
Right,
And that gives the person time to work with you. For a while and then be like, okay, you're crazy doing this and I just need you to make a decision, you know,
right.
so yeah, I think the timing. Would hopefully.
I mean, the other thing I think we ought to consider, and I don't know which way this cuts. I'm concerned about how the 414 interacts with the decision to add staff and go into a hole. We're already doing a construction project.
Right.
You're bumping up additional staff. You're assuming you're going to make ends meet with 414 and that you'll get approval. And I'm concerned. I don't know whether it's a real concern or not. Who's to know? But I'm concerned if people are happy with the library. I think we've made terrific progress in developing goodwill and people are happy. The question I have is, by adding a program director, do you bite off a little too much and does it make it harder to get the community behind. An increased amount of funding
Right.
from like
That's what-
95 to, is it 125, is it 130 or whatever?
That's definitely one of my concerns, like
And I
that's
think there's,
a big concern of mine, is like, what's that gonna look like, how, oh, we're doing a great job already, what do you need to do more for, and should we really need to pay for it, and.
and I think all things considered, the answer is probably, my sense of the consensus is, yeah, we think it'd be really good to have someone doing this.
Right.
And my concern is not that decision, but
How is it gonna play?
how does it play out?
Yeah.
And I'll throw one more thing in just because I'm a crank. I haven't heard I've heard that Rebecca, and I'm sure this is true, Rebecca's doing a fabulous job.
Mhm.
She's doing a volunteer work.
Mhm.
Instantly, I don't understand where. You mean, what triggers the desire to pay her when she's volunteering?
Yeah.
If a person is volunteering, I mean, we're trying to develop course volunteers to do stuff.
It's the amount of time and the amount of energy that she puts into it. It's more than what you would just ask a normal volunteer to do.
So,
And in order to keep that level of that quality that she's giving to us, she's gonna burn out and not want to do it anymore. She's gonna be working for the Lebanon Library, and they are going to be paying her. She's doing it on Mondays, and they're hoping that we can work together so that Monday kids, if they want to go to story time on Monday, we can kind of, bring all these different groups of people together on different days. She's definitely at the point where she's like, this is a lot of work.
And this is an expanded role that we're talking about. We're not just talking about her continuing to do just story time.
Well, I want to pay her just for story, it's both.
Yeah, two separate.
We have two separate things, so it would be a program director. And we need to, and we have to
continue
take
to
her on
be-
as a story
To do story time and now be paid for it.
so I think we're making a huge mistake. Because we're talking about. Not a job description, but what Rebecca does. We're talking about creating a paid position for Rebecca.
Mhm.
And I don't think, I think what we should be talking about is, do we need 2 storytime people, or is one and a volunteer sufficient? Like, so I just want to separate, I want to get rid of Rebecca for a few minutes.
Okay.
And no, it's absolutely critical. I mean, it's just
Like, you're absolutely right.
It's like-
talk about a job as like. A person, it's like, we're talking about these positions, and I think we need to get Rebecca out of there.
So it sounds like Kim, from what I understand, so like you have some other volunteers that come to story time. And they're what you might expect a volunteer to be doing, which is helping with the kids and all of that. But what you're finding the need for is that because of the increased number of children and the 2 age groups and everything, that you really need like sort of 2 programs running as part of it.
Right, the other thing too is you want to think about it as, this is early childhood education. This is not just something that I'm gonna throw somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Cheryl has a master's degree in early childhood education, which is one of the reasons we hired her. Rebecca also has a master's degree in early childhood education, both of them focus on reading. If we want to give quality story times to our community, where they're really learning, the people who are running the story time, they know what they're doing. I can't just rely on volunteers, because you're not gonna get people who are gonna be as invested and making those story times the best they can make.
Knowing
And-
how to create a program. that's
Exactly,
educational.
And
exactly.
honestly, for people who have kids, that's also a selling point when we're talking about a tax district or whatever.
Yes.
We're hiring education professionals with master's degree in early childhood to do our story times, like that is, so I think. Paying someone to do story time,
Mhm.
paying 2 people or whatever, I think that makes sense.
I
I
do
really
too.
do.
So we have one person, we have a couple of people who come in and help during story time, and they are volunteers, they don't have any. I don't think that they have any huge education degrees in it, or anything like that, but they come and they help manage the kids. Hold babies when they need to hold babies for moms. They help with, handing out all the supplies and doing all that kind of thing. And that's a really great thing to have too, because then the storytime leaders can then focus on really helping the children and, doing that kind of stuff. So that's one of the reasons why I really think we need to start paying. And as you said, you're right, and we should be thinking about it in terms of the position. I wouldn't say if we were to write a program description or even excuse me, not a program description, but a job description, that the person has to have a master's degree, because you will never get somebody who wants to come in and be paid almost minimum wage for that, but at least have bachelor's degree or an associate's degree or some kind of formal education in education. So yeah, that's fair. That part is at least why I think we need to have the two, because we also have so many little guys that it's very difficult to keep them all together. And the older kids aren't getting quite as much out of story time as the younger kids, because the younger kids can't sit through books. They sit for a couple of, like, maybe one book if you're lucky, whereas the older kids, they can, Cheryl will take them out on the porch and they read together and they really can look at the book and focus more. And so we're hoping to make sure we continue to draw those kids in as well, because, yeah, some kids go to preschool, but preschool's not every day, that was not in some preschools. So, but yeah, that's why the two at this point are important. If our numbers dropped and we were back down to 6 or 5, like we had been when my kids were little, we would not need to. But right now, we're definitely at that area where we need.
And that fluctuation, I think, is part of the reason why it would make sense to add those hours into the program person. Because then you're responsible for story time as needed, but if we get down to 6 kids again, we need to be doing some program to get people in, and we've got a story time person.
Right.
I think we don't necessarily need 3 different positions, but I think that those skills and that activity should be improved.
Other thoughts?
Is there a program committee of the board?
No.
I was thinking about that before, that especially like because you do it all yourself, like we should have all along been having a committee that is supporting some of that.
The
Have a
problem is,
negative effect, because all the board comes up with a bunch of ideas that we say,
Right.
it's a great idea.
yeah, that's generally how it is.
And also everybody's on that committee already, or 2 or 3, and it's hard, but I'm just being like, yeah, that would be one of the other solutions.
Well, I think it would. Creating a job description that would be helpful, but that the job description should also be written with an eye to, right, what is it here that we want to do more of or accomplish, or even more importantly, who is it here that we want to reach that we're not reaching right now?
Yep.
And so figuring that out and writing that job description, I think I get the Rebecca thing, but even as an exercise to think of the job description, in that way, and in that way, with tight reins, you could get some benefit from a program committee. And also people who would, I know that you need me, you can call me anytime,
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard though when you're trying to come up with the calendar, and you have to figure out how am I gonna advertise all of this, and if some people can do something sometimes, and then I'm coordinating between 9 people instead of done it myself. So that makes it very,
I've been there, I know,
Yeah,
I
so-
understand that.
If it was me and someone else working together, and like every week we just sat down and said, let's just do this really quick and we figure out some programming things, you tell me what you're doing, great, okay, let's go. And then I could reach out to you guys and say, okay, we're having this huge program, can someone come and help?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things are. So that's my thoughts, but I understand too, at this point, we're looking at a construction project, we're looking at 414 and trying to increase our money.
Right.
It might not be the right time. The only thing I do very much want to do, if we can't do the program director, then at least having a paid position for the second story time person, whoever that might be. I do want to start paying Rebecca now because she is the one who's our second. And I want to start paying her for that until the end of the year at the very least, and then with starting in 24, then that can be into our budget. So I think that like my minimum of what I'd like to see happen to the max is.
I'll take the opportunity before you don't have it. So we received a letter today from Noe, our former board member and parent of a storytime child. So I'll just read it. It's in the folder as well, but he asked that he apologized for not being able to be here, but asked that we read this. So to the board of trustees, subject support for recognizing volunteer contributions. Dear SML board of trustees, I hope this letter finds you all well. I'm writing to express my strong support for Rebecca Corbett, a dedicated and outstanding individual who has been contributing selflessly to our community and library as a volunteer. I believe it is time to consider the possibility of compensating Rebecca for the invaluable time, effort, and resources she has invested in supporting the library's mission. My family and I have had the privilege of witnessing firsthand the exceptional commitment and passion that she brings to the volunteer role. Her tireless dedication has significantly contributed to the success of numerous projects and initiatives in the library. As we all know, volunteers are the backbone of successful programming in our community. Volunteers contribute their time, skill, and energy without expecting monetary compensation. While this selflessness is commendable, it is important for us to recognize and appreciate the immense value that individuals like Rebecca bring to our library. Compensating her would not only be a gesture of gratitude for her hard work, but also a strategic investment in supporting our most vulnerable community members and children. I understand that budget considerations may come into play, and I trust that the board will carefully weigh the benefits of compensating Rebecca against the potential impact on the library's financial resources. However, I firmly believe that the positive outcomes resulting from her continued dedication and contribution will far outweigh the associated costs. In conclusion, I urge the board of trustees to consider this proposal seriously and recognize the outstanding contributions of Rebecca. By taking this step, we not only show our appreciation for her hard work, but also strengthen the bond between our community and the organization, ensuring a brighter and more sustainable future. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Noah Gonzalez. Public input.
I think something that's important to consider is that if you have a key position, and it is being performed by a volunteer, if that volunteer does leave, you leave a huge hole in your budget, because your chances of finding another volunteer to fill that key position are slim, and it is, I believe, imperative budget for key positions. I sat on the board for my church, and we had our music director just, volunteer all of his time. And then when the day came, he could no longer do that. We were sitting there with no idea how much it really costs to pay a music director, and no idea what a hole was left in our budget and our, programming.
Yeah.
As a result. So
I think it's also a little sketchy to have two of the same position and one's paid and one's volunteer. In most places, there's like, these are the things that we have volunteers do. These are the things that we have staff do. And we don't generally have a staff person covering for a paid person, or and you don't have your paid staff doing volunteer work. If volunteers aren't there, it doesn't get done, but it just seems a little sketchy to me that we have two basically the same exact position. And we pay one person and don't pay the other. That also.
Yeah, that's right on. Yeah. I mean, she was definitely like, no, don't, this is nice.
Well,
But I think now it's like she's definitely more involved, and this is.
if she feels that strongly, she can make a donation.
Well, and I was just thinking, because you said you'd like to start it now, so I was thinking maybe for this year, could we give her like an honorarium or a stipend or something.
However we want
You
to.
know, and then budget into the budget next year for a position.
That would be fine. As long as she's getting compensated for her time, it's fine. It's, so things, it used to be that during programming, people would just donate, or like board members would just go out and buy the supplies for movie night, or buy the supplies for this program or that program, and we never really knew how much we were spending. And when I became director, I said, no, please don't do that. Give me the receipts. Let me know, because then we were able to figure out, okay, we have 3,000 in the budget for programming, we really need 6, you know, and I think that this is just kind of another way to bring it up to speed and make sure that we're paying for what we're getting.
Right, and then it goes along with what I was saying, you know, you've
Right.
got to have a record of what it really costs to run a program. And if somebody wants to contribute to that, then they can do it.
Right. I agree with you. I think everybody's good intentions a lot of times, everybody, it's a great thing, except then you really don't have a good understanding of
Right.
what it costs to run an organization or what it costs to do it. And exactly, better to,
You know, I'm just thinking now, at VFP, like, we had an accounting firm that did our accounting stuff for Rock Bottom. And I would get a bill from them for full price, and then we would do like in-kind services or whatever it was, and we would pay like a quarter of the bill. And then they wrote off the other 3/4, but it still showed how much it cost.
right,
It's like, this is how much
right.
these things, because at some point that firm's gonna change, and it
Exactly,
did.
they
We
did.
ended up having to go someplace else and pay more.
Right, we don't understand what that, yeah. So I think we need to do 2 things, right, I guess. Jump in and so we need some sort of motion regarding, payment for the remainder of this year. To Rebecca for the work she's doing on story time. So whether somebody wants to do a motion for an honorarium or however, somebody make a motion what they think makes sense, then we can then discuss that. And then we can close that out and move on to the discussion of the budget. We don't have to approve the budget this month, so we just need to finalize the discussion, so we can update the budget for next month. So,
I will make a move that we provide Rebecca with some sort of honorarium, or stipend or something in the month of December. That sort of reflects our appreciation for the year.
I second.
You wanna put the limit, price tag on that?
I think you should discuss that.
Okay, so we've got a motion in the second, so discussion of what that.
Well, if you look at just what a monthly stipend would be, it's 225.
I don't mean a stipend just for that month. I'm saying let's do it one time as an end of year, thank you for the whole year. So what did we pay the other person for the year?
She got, so far, she's gotten $1,300,
So I would say somewhere in like the,
$1,500.
well, I don't know if I did that much. I was thinking more like 750 or that.
Okay.
We didn't budget to pay her those.
Well, yeah, when did Rebecca start doing the story time?
Oh, yeah, so she prorated.
That's the problem, I don't even know, because.
Okay, so again, it's only been a few months, and Richard, I would take your monthly thing and not quite do it all,
Next
but,
number of months.
so she started in September.
I don't think I think she was, let me just, I can tell because of my.
I think it was definitely over the summer.
I think
that
it
she was
was.
doing it, so like maybe in the spring, I wanna say, but probably not back to January.
In August, she helped set up the story time for the fire department. I'm pretty sure she did it in July. So I think she started probably at the end of the school year. Yeah. So
In July, say like something in the 500 or so, maybe 750.
I think 750 is a good number.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Other discussion?
And would that be
I have no idea where
Would that
that's
be-
coming from, we're pulling it out of our
a,
hat.
is that gonna be seen as a wage or just an honorarium or a gift or?
Well, if you're gonna do 750, you're gonna have to 1099.
Yeah,
because it's over 600.
That's true.
And I would say, if you do 500,
Thank you.
since she did.
500 is
start
a really good
volunteering,
idea.
starting it as by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because
It's a gift from the board.
And it's also under the 649, so that, yeah.
Other discussion? So can we have a vote on the motion to award $500 to Rebecca Corbett in recognition of her work on story time through this year? Figuring out where it's in the budget line to come.
Is it, we haven't used any of our landscaping money and made $1,000 net. We're not using landscaping money at the end of this year. So.
But we should put it where it belongs.
Right, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
we
that
have that
money.
We have plenty of it.
That's just.
But we don't have to program,
Program expense,
raise up some green.
In both ways.
Well, she's not out in the yard on the landscaping with kids at some point, so.
Okay. So we've got a motion, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay.
Somebody call Noe and ask him how much he wants to chip in.
You know, I'm just gonna say that.
I'll just spend 2 different hospital stays. I don't think he's gonna wanna be paying anything else. No, he's doing.
So, for the purposes of 2024 budget, we're running long on time, short on time, I mean, we're running long.
It's been a lot of time. It's been a lot of time.
Spit it out.
Do we want to talk about the approach for 2024 for a program person? Do we want to try to approach it as a program person that, and that position handles story time and have a combined number of hours for that and look at the numbers that way? Do we want to consider a second story time person for X number or for the whole of 2024 with additional program hours coming on 4 months, you know, in the second quarter or something? Let's just talk about that's because that's kind of our final number to plug in, and then we're gonna have to reconcile if we're how.
What is the staff right now, 1550 or 1770?
It'll be
1550.
1550, so I would think we should keep that consistent. I mean, just because it would be tricky if Cheryl was making, you know, more for this than that, it can be really kind of hard to figure out. So I think any discussion, we should be looking at the 8160 number, not the 8900 number. Does that make sense? So you have a program story time person at 31 hours a month, and then a second story time person at 13 hours a month. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I still think though that we would wanna keep the story time and the program director separate at this point, just because of who we already have working, doing stuff for us. What happens if Rebecca can't do both? And then I have to say, sorry, you can't do story time anymore. She's way too much of an asset.
But you should talk about why it would make sense to have it be 3 people or why it makes sense to have it be 2 people. So does it make sense for it to be 3 people because then we don't have to hire the program person until later in the year? Or because it's really helpful to have 3 people working with kids, so when one gets sick, you still have 2 others. Don't talk about it in terms of Rebecca. Just talk about it in terms of those positions. Like, why does it make sense to have 3? I mean, it might be because then we can hire somebody else later in the year, and maybe what ends up happening if Rebecca applies for that and gets both or whatever. But
What happens then?
I think you're right. My question though is the programming position the same function as running story time?
no,
Right,
No.
so I think that would be why we would need 3. Because if we wanted a programming person, they don't necessarily need to have an education background in order to do stories.
and they're gonna do programs for people of all ages.
Yes, they are. However, they're gonna be doing programming for, like, yes, they're gonna be doing
Now
programming
this-
for all ages, where story time is very specific.
And story
Qualification
time is
and-
a hands-on frontline worker who's doing story time. Where the program person could very well not ever do a single program themselves. It could be all bringing people in.
Right. everything for it, but
I'm
yes.
just, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, okay, so
No,
here's,
right.
here's the argument why this is
There we
very
go.
different
Okay.
skills, yeah, okay.
Although there could be overlap.
There could
And
be.
it could be, but also I think you're persuading me, because now I'm also thinking that we could, the program person might not be a year-round position, like it might be that we're heavier on programs here or whatever, I don't know.
Potentially.
Yeah.
It also,
Pumps those hours together, you know, like maybe it's starting March 1st.
I guess the other, that's right, the other immediate concern is like, you can bite off the nut with respect to an additional position for story time. And then decide later on in the year, I mean, you can budget for
Right,
a program
and see
director
if we actually have it.
and then figure out when you pull the trigger on hiring.
Mhm.
Which seems where we are. We
It-
might
it-
want to do
you're right.
that.
it would leave us where we are.
You're right.
Yeah, and sort of like it's. I don't know.
I see
So
what you're
if we
saying.
Did that,
Can you
you
lift
could
it
then
up
do
just
the
enough so
two
that-
story time people at the 1550.
Right.
And then the program person at the higher rate, because I agree, these are pretty low salaries and they're also low low hours a week, it's gonna be hard to track. But that would bring us to a total of 8,400, so it's kind of in the middle.
Yep.
Because you'd have the program director at the higher hourly wage. The others at the current standard, and that would be 8,400 that would be plugging into the budget.
I have another,
With your point that we may or may not
Fill
start the program director immediately and we can look at that.
I have a different question, and I don't know the answer to this, but I'll just ask it. Creating a title of programming director, it sort of suggests a hierarchy. Are we bumping into trouble? I mean, I value the work that everyone does, and I wouldn't put,
use the word coordinator.
but
Yeah.
my point is, do you require someone to pay someone at a different salary or wage
It's,
hourly rate?
it's definitely different work,
But
it's not the same.
But by denominating a higher figure, you're sort of either recognizing the market's different and that you need to pay that's, which is irrational, or you're saying that this work is more important. And the question I have is, how does that play out? I have no idea.
No,
just raise it.
I think that the way I was looking at it is that the market, it's the market. I wasn't looking at it in terms of like a hierarchy, but no, that makes a really good point, because the people who work at the library are definitely doing the frontline work.
And the other thing, let me just finish the thought. The differential is really not substantial. And if you're creating a problem by paying someone a couple of bucks more with the rest of your staff, that's.
Should be actually.
I just raised the question. I don't know the answer.
I mean, we could always put it at 1550, and then if no one bites, I mean, no harm, no foul.
That's what I would recommend,
They're
budgeting.
also trying to go to Rebecca, okay, your story time at 1550, your program director at 1770. Trying to, balance, which
Yeah,
hours go here, which hours go there.
We could consider the 3 different positions all at the same rate. Or the 2 new positions, right? Another storytime person and a program, but at the same rate. We're already at a deficit budget. So that just makes it easier to comprehend. Let's be honest, you're paying somebody 15 something an hour or 17 something an hour. They are doing the work out of the goodness of their heart. They are not doing it because of the money that they're making. And it just kind of simplifies things. And, we're already like, oh, Kim, I think what I heard you say is we might not need it this year, but we definitely just need to start thinking about it, and we need it next year for sure. This is kind of how it's just a little way to dip a toe in the water and see how it's gonna go,
So I think that sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
I know, like, the reason I figured out the per month thing on my little so that I can say, okay, well, you're gonna make $280 a month. It kind of makes it sound a little bit better than you're gonna make $15.50 an hour.
Yeah.
But if.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure about that. Well, I don't know,
I think he's right, it's out of goodness of somebody. They're,
Absolutely,
they're basically doing volunteer work and they're getting some money back for it.
exactly.
I think is what Scott said, and that's correct.
At the same time, I know like someone like me, when my, a while ago, when my kids were little, making that extra $300, I was working as the director of communications for a prop walk. Extra $300 a month was huge. It was made it so that my kids could go to gymnastics, and made it so that, it was like, so we can't just stop at the 280, because it could be that there's somebody out there who could definitely use that extra money. And I think we have to remember that, some people, they are using that. That is an important part of them, so.
We have to be fortunate to find people who are looking for the extra money versus a position that is
Like, this is what they're
Right,
doing.
it's not full time, it's very few hours,
Right.
it's all of that,
Yeah.
so it's also, it's gonna make it trickier to find somebody, so.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's kind of a lot to ask, because we're looking for top quality candidates to do this, to do all this work for very low pay, for very few hours, and hopefully we can find a situation where it is mutually beneficial, but
No, I agree, definitely. And I think that if we can keep it as flexible as possible in terms of like, you can plan what you can, when you can, or we'll have qualifications or not qualifications, but stipulations, at least one Saturday program, or, that kind of thing that I try to do already, but I like the idea of budgeting it in, and then if in a couple of months we find, maybe this just isn't the right time, again, not necessarily have to do it, or
Two candidates for the.
yeah, we could also see how it goes with like maybe trying it out with summer reading and seeing how it goes, having the extra person, because then we could have someone do summer reading for kids and adults. Like, I've never done an adult program because I just don't have the time.
And the research did show that people were more interested in having more adult programming.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because of the demographics of the town.
I mean, in a certain sense, this is just a marketing thing. Your expertise, not mine. But if you don't fill the position and you're talking about a 14, you can use this as and this, these are the kinds of things we can add with this addition. And that may be a good hook. It's fiscally responsible, and it responds to this is what you're doing, you're happy, but we can do so much more. So that's another thing to consider.
I forgot to mention something else at the outset when we started to talk about this extra money and running a potential deficit. So the other option that we have, and we had talked about this during our budgeting last year. So every year we put in the budget 6,000 to put into the reserve accounts for special projects, painting, repairs. And we don't do it until the end of the year in case we run into problems and we need to have that money. So we have that same ability this year. We can say we're not going to put that in.
Or we could say we're gonna put.
We're gonna put it in, yeah, or we could reduce it, we
That.
could say we'll put it in,
Yeah.
but we'll make a decision on actually doing it
Yeah.
when we see how things go. So there is that. And since we're about to go into a renovation project, it might be a year to that it makes sense to not put money in the reserve. So that was the other item. So it's not as terrible as it could be.
And just to put it out there, I can tell you what we have in our different accounts for, so right now, as soon as I cash that check, into the library's account. I'm not going back to Italy. Painting will have 12,000 in it. A repair will have $6,500 in it, and then our special projects will have $37,625. So we have a grand total of about $56,000 in the special projects reserve account. So we do have, we're gonna need that money for
Special
the
projects.
projects.
that take-
However, the repairs and the painting, can you put that up? I don't know.
Yeah, so we could take that out as what Jen was talking about. We could take that out of next year's budget, since we're going to be doing major overhauls anyway. It's in the existing figure, the 139 does include the 6,000 that we would transfer over for a special project. So we could delete that 6,000, so it would be down to a very little scary, little less scary.
I guess my feeling about that is that the special projects contribution is probably less important than creating a sufficient reserve for repairs. The good news is that we're a house. I mean, this is not a big facility.
Yeah.
But $6,500 as sort of money to pay for unexpected repairs is not a lot.
You've got, but you also have, you have special projects.
But the special projects
You can kind of,
is, yeah, but it's really
It's,
different. It's a long-term strategic planning.
it is,
but-
but it's all in the same fund, so if we have to.
Well, money's fungible, that's true, but but we're talking about budgeting, and the
Yeah.
budgeting is a function of creating reserves, planning for the future,
Right.
and the decision to dip into your reserves or not plan for the future is an important decision. And, yeah, it's just, again, I don't have the answers to this stuff, but I just raise the issue because, yeah, that's what we're supposed to do.
No, yeah.
So we're at quarter of,
But it's a really, really good discussion.
it is really good. So I wanna- Two things.
was not so much, cold medication, so you get better. Excuse me.
Propose two things. So one is, I think that we've made good progress on this discussion, but I don't think we're close enough to just move on to vote on it next month. So I think we need an interim meeting before the next month, and I think we can just open that to anybody who wants to and can attend. So we'll set, it's.
And when the annual fund letter goes out and the money starts rolling in,
Exactly.
maybe it'll change our,
So-
maybe it'll change our views.
So, next Thursday obviously is Thanksgiving.
So let's-
So we'll do it then.
I'll zoom in from Cleveland. Yeah.
So the following is the 30th. We already have a fundraising meeting scheduled for that night. Which is that something, I'm trying to remember what the agenda was gonna be on that. If we can postpone, we can use that time as a budget meeting. And
annual fund meeting?
I think we were gonna just talk about our longer term planning, the fact that how we're doing the annual appeal this year, what we're planning for the next year, looking ahead to 4/14. But if we can use the 30th for the budget meeting, we can look at another date for fundraising. Is everyone okay with that proposal?
Yeah.
All right.
So Thursday,
30th.
November 30th.
Yeah.
At what time? 7?
7. Okay. So, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No.
I was just saying, and we have, just to finish early, the reports have gone out for the other areas, so I think we should just touch on them very briefly. If people have any questions or comments, and then we can still try to get out of here on time. 'Cause I know people are busy and I don't want people to be the big tax rates. So, but that, I think it was a good discussion. I think we are in a good place in, an hour next on the 30th. I think we'll be able to kind of nail down how we want to do this and what our approach is gonna be. So thank you.
Well, then I am gonna interrupt because I was going to ask whether it would be helpful for you actually, as well as us to do some sort of job description for what you ultimately want and how you might be helped by this position
I'm not sure. I think that at this point, I know that I feel like I know what we need. And whether or not we need the job description to put it to make the budget for it.
No, I think it would just help, it would certainly help me. I mean. I don't know, would it help you to see sort of
At this point, I don't necessarily feel like a job description. I mean, obviously,
for a program?
for the person
Director
to-
slash
for the
coordinator.
position to be, posted or
Approved.
something, you need it. But I think right now, I get what
what it's about. Yeah, so things for this point.
I mean, if all of a sudden it's like, oh, we hired somebody and it's like, well, wait a minute, was there a job? Well, I kind of know, and that would not be cool. But at this point, all we're talking about is we want to put some money in the budget.
If you wanna meet at some point, happy to meet and we can talk about it, so you can get a better idea of it, then.
We don't need to do it before the end of the year. I mean, I'm busy, so, okay.
Okay, cool, so, quick other updates, so fundraising committee, you see the report. The big news is that we've done this different approach this year for the annual appeal. Please, if you have an opportunity to thank Elaine, it would be great to do so because I know she has kind of gone out of her comfort zone on this approach. And we're really appreciative that she's done it. I mean, her picture is out there in this and it's in her words, so it's.
She's very happy with it too.
Oh, she is, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
she is.
I think we're all really happy with it, but just, it's definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is going out to a lot more people. We are doing it through Beck's Printing. They've been great to work with. The money we're able to cover through the marketing budget and the fundraising budget, so, we'll see how this goes, yes.
You were looking for.
Yeah, I said.
Said you were talking about.
Yeah, you have to go to Google
Get the voting.
meetings to.
I already got the tax records and I mentioned.
You go with the meeting.
I mean,
sends
the
out an
overlap,
email,
the
click
voting,
on the Google
I'm just
thing, it's all
saying.
there.
Yeah,
Given that you're talking 414.
yeah,
Communicating with you.
okay,
Yeah.
where do we get them?
I think this county clerk's.
We send it out to.
I don't remember where I got it.
Monday of last week.
Would you be willing to?
Yeah.
You find them all.
Okay, okay.
I
just.
Yes.
Yeah.
you find them all. Not for
I mean, the old ones, you might as well get the new one.
Yeah, get the new ones for next.
Yeah, I
year.
definitely had you on.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just you gotta get used to using Google.
yeah, I looked for it
It's
a
okay.
couple days.
It's in her email. That's the link.
any questions on fundraising? Report? No, okay, any highlights on brand committee report?
No, I think we really covered most of it, just that there's a bunch of new programs, coming up that are slated for January, the jam session, the farmer gardener tips and speaker series, and the elder care wills in the states. And medical proxies, those ideas are supposed to start in January. We talked about that, we talked about the website, I think we covered everything pretty much.
Any questions, marketing committee? Okay, cool. And then we have, what is this? Oh, strategic planning committee. Kim, do you wanna?
Did anybody actually read the
Yes.
report? So I think that whole CERD process is absolutely what we're looking for. It's a 2-year process, so they won't be accepting applications again until 2025. But I would love to get together as a strategic planning committee with anybody that wants to look at it a little bit closer and talk about it, because I think there's a framework for that federal funding system and support that maybe the strategic plan could start to be building a foundation for.
Question for you on that though, so is this, it struck me that this is sort of, like, larger than us. You don't think so? Like, not that it has to be with other town support, organizations and such,
No, I mean, there are people that create this creative community because there's 5 artists who want to be able to make a living as artists.
Okay.
And they start doing it. So I think, I mean, I don't know that, I wouldn't say right now, oh, we actually have to apply, but it's definitely,
Okay.
we're definitely in this sort of position where we could consider.
Okay. So further discussion in the, it's good that we don't, in some ways, we don't have, it's not until 2025, you know.
Well,
In terms
but
of
except
timing.
for depending on
Yeah.
how we want to do the strategic plan and the questions we want to start asking and how we want to start asking them and stuff. I would, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so if anyone would like to, I'll send out the videos that I watched from their last conference. They're really fascinating. I mean, they're all in different directions, but what it appears is they're the people that have gotten a grant a year ago and where they are now. It's really interesting to see what they're doing. But I would love to host coffee at my house or whatever, and have people come over and talk about it, or come here or we've got free. But whenever it works,
Okay.
but I just, it's all about creating place in small rural towns.
Thank you for finding that and attending.
I got sucked right into the videos are fascinating. Like, one of the videos is about a small town in Alaska that all of the cruise ships come to. And so there's like 22 days of the year or whatever, where they have like 600 people in town, but then the rest of the year is like 500. And what's happened with this big, you think, oh, this is great for the local economy. All they have is souvenir stores. You can no longer buy a pair of socks or a pair of jeans, or, you know, everything is tourist related because, and their big new center they built is a center for tourism. Like, where do local people go to get together? It was really, because you just think, wow, they're so lucky, the group that goes there, you know. But
Is there a link in the thing that you sent to see some of these?
yeah, I'll send it again though. I'll make it more. I'll pull the video, because like click on the link and then you went to all the different things.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
I'll send that out again, and with it I'll send out a when do people want together survey.
Cool, thank you. All right, no thing, I don't think it's missing for recruitment. Youth,
There's nothing really, just the Halloween party was great. Thank you for the people that helped, and volunteered.
oh, the budget was nice.
We are
And
getting
the budget-
$4,000 instead of the 3,500. They don't realize it. I don't know that they actually looked at the breakdown of the budget they submitted, but
Alright.
that was part of it.
But they approved it.
They approved it.
Yeah, great.
That's good news, yeah. All right. We already had our public comment, no other public, correspondence, I read Noah's letter, the cards got passed around, we won't waste any more time on that. But it is just to point out that we have gotten some nice thank yous, both from Scott winner and from the veterans or our assistants, so. And thanks to everybody, Kim, staff, everybody who makes so many efforts to interact with the community, to put our best foot forward with everybody, to help the other organizations when we can. I think that, you know, I think it's what we should do anyway, but I also think it will pay dividends, you know, in the future as well.
Just an anecdote that Vicky helped someone find their tax bill. She said, one more thing that we now know how to do. Find out how much they need to pay in their taxes for school taxes.
Wow.
So she's like, go us.
It's excellent. All right, anybody have anything else? Okay, thank you really, everybody. It was a good discussion tonight. I know it's hard to have a long discussion late at night.
Even better than the last.
Even better. And you're starting. All right, motion to adjourn.
We're trending well.
All right, Allison.